Namrata is the Chief Product Officer at Into University Partnerships, a global higher education company that works with top universities in the UK, US, and Australia. Into works with international students from all across the world and aims to deliver the best career outcomes. Previously, she was CPO at iPlato Healthcare, MyGP, where she led an expansive portfolio of digital products and worked closely with NHS primary care. She's worked in product leadership roles at Paramount, Babylon Health, and a number of other exciting global companies. She's also a strong supporter of diversity and inclusion in the workplace and is a popular voice in the women in product and tech community, including leading a Facebook group for women in product in London that I actually just joined last week. So if that sounds like you, come join us as well. So please give a warm welcome in the chat to Namrata Sarma.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you. So maybe I'll just start now. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining. This is a topic really close to my heart. I have been following the schedule very closely. It looks like an amazing agenda for today and tomorrow. And I'm really, really glad to be here. So the topic I've chosen is my own career journey from a PO to a CPO. I'm sure a lot of you are somewhere in that journey at the moment, and you're probably thinking, what's next for you? So when I thought about how I'm going to design this, it's very hard to actually, when you're reflecting on your own career, it's very hard. I'm also very critical about myself. So it's very hard to kind of, have a snapshot view of what you've been doing so far. But I did my best. So I thought of creating a bit of an infographic to show you the different kind of steps that I took in my career. So I'm from India. So I did my computer science engineering from India. I graduated in 2007. From Bangalore, and I started my career in Bangalore actually, as most software engineers in India do. So that was my first job as a software consultant. I was working with some really big companies globally, so I had a bit of global experience before moving here. And then in 2011, I took a break for education. I did my MBA at Manchester Business School, which is in UK. So I moved countries to to work here. And then when I graduated in 2012, it was a great crossroad moment for me because I was thinking, right, I come from an engineering background, but then I've got an MBA now. So what do I do next? And actually, a lot of people said to me that I should go for strategy consulting or management consulting. I'll touch upon those topics later on in the slides, but I chose to do very different things, actually. I did not really listen to a lot of advice I was given that time. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I think for me, it worked out. So kind of 2013 is where my career started here in the UK. And I joined as a product manager or product owner at that time in a company called Truephone, which was kind of largish, I would say between 1,000, 1,500 employees, global company, London-based, and learned a lot about it. I mean, telco is quite a complicated sector. It's highly regulated. So I think for somebody who just started their career in product, it was a really good opportunity to learn a lot. I think the complex products teach you the most, which I think it really helped me at that time. And then very quickly, I moved to different organizations and different sectors as well. So after Truephone, I got a senior product manager role. It was more of a product lead role in a company called Antenna International, which was a New York-based media production company. So very different sector. I had never worked in media before. And again, that was a new challenge for me, new learning. I was reporting to the CTO. There was no concept of CPO at that time in most companies. So most of my roles, I have actually kind of reported to the CTO or let's say someone in engineering. So Antenna, again, taught me a lot, especially leadership. I learned a lot from the CTO, actually. He was a great leader. And from there, I kind of moved to 2016, where I got my first kind of head of product role in Babylon Health. Babylon was, most of you probably know about Babylon by now. It's a great success story. When I joined the company, I think we were around 50 people people. I think I was the second or third person in the product team. So even our job titles and roles and responsibilities, it wasn't very clear. But we all knew that it was a great mission. It was a completely disruptor in that health tech space. So we were all excited about the mission. So it was very much mission-driven organization. And I think most of the things I have learned in my life is actually from my experience in Babylon, which was not easy, but again, a huge life lesson for me. So from Babylon, again, healthcare, very, very, very complicated, learned a lot. I then got my first director role. It was a senior director role at a company called Viacom, which is a very big media conglomerate. It's now rebranded. It's called Paramount at the moment. So Viacom, Paramount, it owns around 26 different global brands. You must have heard of MTV, Nickelodeon, Paramount Movies. All of that is owned by Viacom. So huge portfolio of work. And again, there was a lot of different digital brands that the company had. And for me personally, I had never worked in a kids space before. So it was my first experience working for where my customers were kids or my viewers were kids, let's say. And similarly, the kind of demographics that I got to work with Viacom, I would say was phenomenal. So taught me a lot. And it was also a very important year for me because I had my first baby that year, 2017. That's why you can see the little picture of a little baby there. So I'll talk about career breaks and things like that later on in the slides. But I've just put it out there here to show that, in your career, it doesn't have to be linear. Things change a lot. You can pivot, you can have breaks, but still you can perhaps make it. So after Viacom, which was, again, great experience for me, I got headhunted by a company called iPlato in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic. So My GP app, which is a flagship product of iPlato, it's used by around 2.5 million people in the UK. It's an app used by the NHS primary care. So a lot of work with public sector. Of course, my Babylon experience helped, but as you probably know, Babylon is more of, at least when I worked in Babylon, it was more of a private health company. So iPlato gave me the exposure to how public health England works. So working very closely with the doctors and medics, in the NHS primary care, I think, again, a great humbling experience for me. iPlato was acquired by Huma, which is another health tech company. So that happened later last year. So again, that was very exciting to be part of the process where you're kind of selling a company to another organization. So all of that experience, I would say, helped me a lot. And then somewhere down the line, I would say end of last year almost, I was approached by a company called Into University Partnerships, that they were looking for their first ever CPO. And it's a higher education company. So it's not a tech-led or product-led organization, very much an enterprise-level organization that works with the big universities. And they were looking to transform the company and make it digital first. So an amazing challenge, which I just couldn't say no to. So I moved from iPlato to Into University Partnerships, and where I work at the moment. And this is probably the most broad CPO role I've ever done, because I don't just manage product design data, but I also manage CRM, comms, bits and pieces of marketing as well. I also have a little startup under my remit as well. So it's a very, very broad role. And it's kind of, I would say it's a dual role. You can call it a chief digital officer. You can also call it the chief product officer. It's in the middle of both. But this is definitely the biggest role of my life and has taught me a lot. The next, I don't know what comes next. You can also see in my career graph, I have put the little kind of graduation symbol there. So I did take a few, and I won't say breaks, but I did invest on different kind of studies and courses like that in between. So in 2015, I did an executive program from University of Cambridge that was focused on strategic management. And in 2020, early 2020, before COVID, I did a residential program at Harvard Business School, which was focused on global leadership. Again, that program really, I would say that program helped a lot in terms of my leadership development. And it was very much on time, because right after that course, actually, I got my first CPO role. So I got great exposure and good opportunity to actually use the skills I learned in that program in the real job. So I can come back to this later on if you have any questions, etc. Please feel free to ask. So I just want to focus on things that I did differently. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will resonate with this. So, when you graduate, doesn't matter undergrad or postgrad, uh, there are a lot of advice you get from people, right? It could be your university career service, it could be your family, cousins, friends, whoever. So I received the same kind of advice. And as an MBA, I think most people in my friend circle, let's say, or my classmates, went into management consulting. So they went